Congratulations, Arnaud, you have been voted CEO of the Year in the wealth technology industry. A fantastic honor. How do you interpret the role of CEO?
Yes, it's a fantastic honor, and I'm really delighted for that. I think as a role for a CEO, I think the first things I really have to do is to make sure that we don't do a ridiculous mistake. And I would say the CEO model is pretty well trained for the fintech, and you can really extract the 10 biggest mistakes that you should avoid if you compare to all the companies that underperform. And I would say the first thing is let's try not to repeat those mistakes. And if for any reason you would like to break the rules, you should know why you do it. You should really understand and have sort of a plan B, and it should be very well calculated. Beyond that, I would say I had the opportunity to work for really three kind of company, really ton of experience. The first was a very company with a very average product, but extremely well-oiled sales machine. And really, it did allow us to really perform. So that was very interesting. The second was really a world-class product company, absolutely top-notch in terms of technology, but a very inefficient sales machine, which at the end give us average result. And the third one was, I would say, the customer satisfaction was everywhere at all costs, regardless the contract we sign. So basically what I'm trying to do is to take from those three experiences the best and try to put everything at aixigo around those three stories, and then avoid the 10 biggest mistakes. So I don't want to disappoint the reader or the listener, but I would say there is nothing spectacular, except I would say assembling the best of each experience, having team communicate properly, and then execute. Maybe the last point I would need to say, which a little bit more on my side, as a former elite athlete, I really understand how we can decompose firm performance in a small blocks, which is actually 11. And I really believe the optimization of the performance year on year or month by month is sort of a holistic view of all those little pieces. It's completely useless, and we have seen many times actually on the sport and on the business side when you recognize a weaknesses just to put everything on these weaknesses and not looking at the overall and the holistic view. And what happens is most of the time you actually maybe correct the what goes wrong, but in the same time you have created serious weaknesses someone else. So if you really want to improve your athlete performance or company performance, you always need to look at the entire spectrum of what defines the performance and touch them and make sure that if you touch something, someone else is still in the well balance. So I would say this is the way I see my role. Avoid the mistake, take the whole experience I have seen, and take every year to bring a little bit more a new piece in the performance, step by step, angle by angles, and that's the way you start growing.
What sets aixigo apart from your competition?
I think the first things when we are discussing about democratizing the consumptions of the wealth services, I think this is really something that we mean. In the past, it's true, and look at most of the competitors, we are mostly looking for the biggest and world-class private bank. That's the reality. But what we have done and what we also realize, the fact that we have a flexible, composable platform consumable via API, we actually have more and more customers which are fintech competitors. That's also very interesting, but also non-financial organizations that would like to propose at the point of sales some of the wealth services. So what we really have done, and if you look at today the spectrum of our customer, of course we still have a top world-class private bank or even a retail bank proposing a wealth management service, but we have now also a completely different spectrum of customers from large fintech, small fintech, and non-financial institution. So I would say this is something very different from the competitions, and we have completely changed our business model, targeting everybody who has the desire to propose to their own customer at the point of sales or even globally something related to waste management. So this is something that, in my point of view, make us unique. And the reason why we can make it is obviously the underlying architecture. And the reason why we have received so many awards, even if I'm not necessarily, you have always to take that little bit the second degree. I would say there is always something true at the end. When you get a 14 award in 12 months, that means something must be right. And always what has been outlined is the capability for our platform to compose on-demand use case and deliver them in a very fast way to the end user. So that's what makes us, I would say, unique. Be able to compose API-based. We can go from, and we have customer when we have a complete transformation project, to another customer, which is a small fintech just consuming one blocks via one API to do one very simple or complex wealth services and deliver that to their own industry. So this is what I would say. We have, in one hand, a little bit revolutionized in a very humble way the industry by addressing, in my point of view, the entire ecosystem that is dealing from wealth management via a unique platform. And that's, in my point of view, something really different. That's, if you ask me what makes us different from the competition, is that one single product capable to address the entire ecosystem from institution, various different institutions, asset management included, but also fintech and non-financial institutions. So that's, in my view, pretty unique and remarkable for a company like us.
In hindsight, if you had one piece of advice to give to yourself just starting out, what would it be?
I think from advice or insight as a CEO of a fintech, I think this is very important that in the word fintech, there is a word technology. And more, the technology is, in my point of view, the game changer versus the most sophisticated features or the most sophisticated algorithm. We are first a fintech, delivering a service via a platform which is supporting different technology. And when we can see today, and is the technology is really the game changer. It means when you look at the capacity for a company to absorb the new market trend, the new technology, and I'm not even just mentioning AI, the new way of computing, the new way of parallelization, the new way of absorbing new type of UX, that's what make companies sustainable and having I would say, a bright future. How many of our competitors, unfortunately, has not invested in a technology with the right amount of money and the right profile? They continue to look at features, functions, but they never wanted to change the underlying stacks. In the past, I would say there is sort of a metric saying, okay, every 5 years we have to refresh our technology and technical platform. Now, it's in my view, is 18 months. If you don't do anything for 18 months, you are already outdated. And that's what we have seen. How many of our competitors just with incredible functionality, maybe some of them much better than we have, but the technology is just outdated and will never be able to grow. And I can tell you now, when we look at requests for proposal, when we are facing competitions, we are now getting more and more challenge on the technology side. In the past, what really features function-driven selection process. So my first advice is really double down the budget. Look at, again, the way you allocate investment by different departments and really make much more budget and talent available for the technology. That's exactly what we have done. We have really completely readjust our budget allocations and bring a lot more to the product, because at the end, we are a fintech technology provider of certain services. And if you have the wrong technology, obviously you don't support and you are not able to face the different changes and you will be outpaced very quickly. So that's really my most important advice, especially with what we have seen in the past, especially in Europe, is technology is a main point. So that's what I would say.
What is the most important asset when running a business and why?
The most important asset when you are running a business, and I think it's part of the questions, is exactly running a business. So the first mistake I think a CEO will do is, beyond running a business, trying to be a guru in certain area. How many times I've seen the CEO trying to be the guru in wealth management, trying to predict where the industry will go, trying to have a crystal ball about whatever changes. That's exactly not what I'm trying to do. And even if I'm reading, even if I'm listening, if I'm getting more and more aware about the industry, I make a point of not discussing with experts, but leave them at the end, empower them to make the right decision in their domains, from technology to functional area. So I am running globally a business. That's what I've been. That's my main mandate. Certainly not to discuss and let's say decide about the roadmap. This is not my story. Certainly not to discuss if we have to do an onboard and embed this technology or this one. I am not the expert, and I certainly don't want to do that. So this is, in my point of view, a very, very strong, let's say, requirement. If you are a CEO, stay where you are. You have to run the business, deliver to your main shareholder whatever performance they are expecting from you, and look at that in a holistic way. Don't try to be the expert and be the guru. That's never going to work. And that's, in my point of view, a strong recipes for failure. And obviously, when you are a 200 employee company, employee beyond the technology is definitively the other big asset of the company. And one of the things you have really to look at is the loyalty of the employee. And I think at aixigo is extremely, the major group of the employee are extremely loyal. Most of them have already more than 1 decade and sometimes 2 decades working for aixigo. So you should not leave that. And actually, most of the customers we have actually still recognize that aixigo is a clear, good environment to work with. But in the same time, you still need to upgrade, update, and insert new blood with a new technology background or new ideas. And most of the time, is the youngest generation, and you have to find the right chemistry between the loyal employee that has been working here, and sometimes that was even their first job. So we have to keep that and respect what they have done, which is amazing. But in the same time, bring to them new youngest generation capable to better understand how the industry is working. So that was the big part of my day-to-day. If we have to hire someone else, where it could be, what's the profile, and we have to make sure that if this person is working, that will really fit with the rest of the company and not suddenly create conflict and problem that will, let's say, damage the entire flow of the company. So I think this part is very important. It has to match, it has to fit with the culture, and basically a company like us just cannot afford make a mismatch and the wrong recruitment. So as a summary, technology, double, triple the budget is absolutely a necessity, and make sure that also on terms of asset on the people side, you inject where it's necessary new talent, but always make sure that new talent will match with the rest of the team. So that's, in my point of view, something important.
How do you envision the future landscape of your industry?
The future of the industry, I think I will try to apply exactly what I just said before. I don't want to be a guru, so I will just talk about fact, what I have seen, and what is with a tangible evidence, not like I will try to tell you what will happen in 10 years. And for sure, we have this called the big replacement effect of all the legacy applications. And we have seen specifically in Europe, but I heard also in Asia, that more and more organizations and big wealth managers and private banks are actually redefining their operating model and replacing this collection of applications to redeliver a new platform capable to serve a new type of segment and a new type of requirement from their existing customer base. So what can see at the moment is, and I think the way we have seen it is for the next 5 years, this big replacement. The number of requests, the number of demand for new system and modernizations is actually happening now. So this is a big trend. And only, in my point of view, only few organizations can really deliver this kind of organization. Of course, if you go to the market with a monolithic application which has been developed 20 years ago, then what's new? Actually, you are just, again, replacing the bank will replace their existing legacy by another legacy, then it doesn't work. The way the replacement is going to be is replacing the legacy monolithics, a series of legacy of monolithic application via a modern composable platform capable to deliver different use cases to different people of the organization or even directly to the customer. So first is the big replacement effect has already started. And in our view, that will be sort of a wave that will continue for the next 3 to 5 years. The second is a little bit what I explained at the beginning, the desire to consume wealth services by non-wealth manager or wealth management organization, or the organization non-specialized in the wealth management. We have an incredible demand even for non-financial institutions to consume some of our services into their existing customer experience, even if it's not necessarily wealth management. So I think this is something what we have seen really deliver something more and more the wealth management. And I was hearing someone from a retailer, which is a non-financial organization in a retail segment, saying, yes, today we have a bank, yes, today we have credit card, but the customer we are touching are not necessarily loyal. And when we are running a survey, being able to provide some financing and payment is good, but not good enough. The loyalty will come from the time as soon as we can also manage a little bit their expectation and manage also their money. Of course, not like a private bank, but the notion of starting managing in a very modest way wealth could be just because I need to finance a new acquisition for my house. What would be my next best action? What would be, can I start saving? Can I start having a different portfolio to help me in 3 months' time to be able to finance it? That's exactly what people want to see. And the last but not least, there is this, for sure, this the boundary between, or the border, or the boundary between fintech and financial institution, in my point of view, really disappear. You have now financial institutions such as Allianz GI, State Street, Amundi, BlackRock, which are provided today technology via their technology arm. That's different name. And we are actually at the moment competing against them, and they are extremely well organized, very powerful, good system. So they were actually a regulated financial institution. But we are also looking at the other way around. Fintech more and more either are buying bank or custodian and even getting banking license. So you can see suddenly this, nobody remember who is competitor provider. So I think we want to be somehow outside of this battle. We want to deliver services for whoever we need to consume, even actually if it's a direct competitor. So there is this demand for orchestrating. I think this the capability to orchestrate an ecosystem, even if I am a financial institution, is getting more and more important in order to capture the biggest possible market share. The best, again, is to partner, to consolidate via a platform, the different actors that are actually delivering some of the services to the customer. So if I try to summarize, I can see 3 things, again, with fact that don't try to be a guru. One is definitively removing the boundary between fintech and financial institution and trying to be an orchestrator. The second is obviously being able to deliver services to non-financial institutions, sort of embedded wealth management. If you look at the embedded finance, embedded wealth management, I think is a very, very a big topic. And if I start with the first one, was really what we call the big replacement of the legacy applications. That's not anymore if it happened and when it could happen is already on the move, and we are already involved in several big projects where we are replacing legacy applications. And that's just a non-stoppable trend. I don't know how long it will take, but for sure, in my view, for the next 5 years, we are going to be busy to replace the legacy.